A reading from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 15. And early in the morning the chief priests with the elders and the scribes and the whole council immediately held a consultation, and binding Jesus, they led him away and delivered him up to Pilate. And Pilate questioned him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And answering, Jesus said to him, "It is as you say." And the chief priests began to accuse him harshly. And Pilate was questioning him again, saying, "Do you make no answer? See how many charges they bring against you." But Jesus made no further answer, so that Pilate was astonished. Now at the feast he used to release for them any one prisoner whom they requested, and the man named Barabbas had been imprisoned with the insurrectionists who had committed murder in the insurrection. And the multitude went up and began asking him to do as he had been accustomed to do for them. And Pilate answered them, saying, "Do you want me to release for you the king of the Jews?" For he was aware that the chief priests had delivered him up because of envy. The chief priests stirred up the multitude to ask him to release Barabbas for them instead. And answering again, Pilate was saying to them, "Then what shall I do to him whom you call the king of the Jews?" And they shouted back, "Crucify him!" But Pilate was saying to them, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they shouted all the more, "Crucify him!" And wishing to satisfy the multitude, Pilate released Barabbas for them, and after having Jesus flogged, he delivered him over to be crucified. And they dressed Jesus up in purple cloth, and after weaving a crown of thorns, they put it on him. And they began to acclaim him, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they began beating his head with a reed, and spitting at his face, and kneeling and bowing before him. And after they had mocked him, they took the purple cloak off of him, put his garments back on him, and they led him out to crucify him. And they pressed into service a passerby coming from the country, Simon of Cyrene, that he might bear his cross. And they brought him to the place Golgotha, which is translated place of a skull. And they tried to give him wine mixed with myrrh, but he did not take it. And they crucified him, and divided up his garments among themselves, casting lots for them to decide what each should take. And it was the 3rd hour when they crucified him, and the inscription of the charge against him read, "The King of the Jews." And they crucified 2 robbers with him, one on the right and one on the left. And those passing by were hurling abuse at him, wagging their heads and saying, "Ha! You were going to destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days. Save yourself and come down from the cross." In the same way the chief priests, along with the scribes, were also mocking him among themselves, saying, "He saved others. He cannot save himself. Let this Christ, the King of Israel, now come down from the cross, so that we may see and believe." And those who were crucified with him were casting the same insult at him. And when the 6th hour had come, darkness fell over the whole land until the 9th hour. And at the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" And when some of the bystanders heard it, they began saying, "Behold, he is calling for Elijah." And someone ran and filled a sponge with sour wine, put it on a reed, and gave him a drink, saying, "Let us see whether Elijah will come to take him down." And Jesus uttered a loud cry and breathed his last. And the veil of the temple was torn in 2 from top to bottom. And when the centurion, who was standing right in front of Jesus, saw the way he breathed his last, he said, "Truly, this man was the Son of God." And so it is, with cheering tongues and nailed shut hearts, we crucified love.